Spades, Queen of Spades, Ace of Hearts. Okay, so I feel like his mother did die, actually. He started or abandoned him in some way, but I do feel like she died when he was young, or just abandoned them, or just left the family at a very young age. And so just like even when we explored his childhood just a moment ago, that's when he started, you know, to write more, to kind of escape the pain, because he felt so alone. He just felt really alone. That is when he started to just go into his mind more and create like these different characters. Yeah. Because his mom was just very cold, or either, you know, she passed away. But let me know, of course, like down in the comments, like let me know if this is hitting on something. All right, so the Joker in reverse, the Seven of Spades, and then the Nine of Spades. It took him a minute to become more comfortable with his own, or better yet, sharing his work, you know, with people. Because I feel like from a young age, he did not write, you know, about his experiences being, you know, LGBTQ, or being a black male LGBTQ person. He didn't write about that when he was young. I feel like with this Joker being in reverse, for some reason, I'm feeling like he could have been, you know, an early teens, you know, when he actually started to write about that stuff more, or maybe even had his first experience with the same sex, because the Seven of Spades and even this Nine of Spades is just talking about him being worried, of course, you know, about, you know, people's perception with this Seven of Spades. You know, obviously, you know, he was just worried about how he would be perceived, like how people would take, you know, the things that he would say. However, from a very young age, I feel like he eventually got over that. Yeah, Nine of Diamonds, Eight of Clubs, he eventually got over that, because he was like, you know what, I ain't got time. I'm finna commit, you know, to myself, because this is what I want to do. I feel like he was very inspired from a young age with this Joker in reverse, and even this Nine of Diamonds, Eight of Clubs, Two of Diamonds. This is James talking about, you know, what sparked his, what made him comfortable with his own imagination was his different experiences with other boys like himself, with other young boys like himself. Like he started to interact more and be more comfortable. You know, yeah, he just started to interact like with people like him more, and just be more comfortable with himself. And so that is what led him to be, you know, to be more comfortable with his own, to be more comfortable in his own creative imagination, the experiences that he was able to relate to and share with others. The Nine of Diamonds, you know, he saw the value in it as well, because he was thinking, wait a minute, ain't nobody else talking about what I'm talking about, not how I'm doing it, you know what I'm saying, not during this time. And so he actually saw the value that could add, not only of course, you know, spiritually to his life, you know, or socially to his life, but as well as financially as well. And that's really what he came here to do from a very young age with the Eight of Clubs. This is the Karma card. From a very young age, you know, like he just knew. He knew that this is something that he was going to have to commit to. He knew, you know, his writing career was what he came here to do. And the way that he wrote and the things that he wrote about is what he came here to do. He knew that from a very young age. And so he did it. He came to do what he had to do. All right. So the next thing I want to explore is, how was he able to navigate, you know, literary and political communities with his intersectional identity as a black gay male? So especially during the 1950s. So how was James Baldwin able to navigate the literary and political communities with his intersectional identity as a black gay male? How was he able to do that during that time? If you are enjoying this reading, go ahead and click the link in the bio, and you can book a personal reading with me at the Voodoo Institute. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe. All right, let me shuffle one more time. Okay. All right, how was he able to navigate? 2 of Spades, 10 of Spades, and the King of Spades. He wasn't. I mean, honestly, like he forced himself to be seen. You know, with the 2 of Spades and the 10 of Spades, he created his own table, rather, you know, because even with this Spades energy, I feel like he was able to navigate it the way that he did, the literary and the political communities, because, I mean, he wasn't the only one, you know, that was Black, gay, and male, you know, at that time. So people had no choice other than to accept him. However, he knew what he was doing was very dangerous. You know, with all this Spades energy, like he knew that what he was doing at that time could even get him killed, you know, honestly. But he was just very strategic with the King of Spades. This is talking about him being very intelligent, him being very articulate, and being able to really, you know, swindle his way into, you know, into any situation, or even if it's not into any situation, but just to make himself heard. I feel like, you know, in college, because the King of Spades is also talking about his experiences in college or in higher education, is where he was kind of able to start doing this as well. Because obviously with the 2 of Spades, he wasn't able to do that, you know, growing up as well. However, once he went to college, he was able, or once he started, and even if he didn't go to college, but once he started hanging out in like upper echelon areas, or his writing started to become more known, he started to attract a lot of negative attention, obviously, from the public. Yeah, with this Ace of Spades, yeah, it's talking about, you know, it being very difficult, you know, and he went through a very transformative period, obviously. And it took a long time, like it took a minute, you know, for him to get to this point. However, he was just so determined, and he was also, yeah, he was just determined to get his stuff out there, you know, to get these experiences out there, because he's like, why not? You know what I'm saying? And even with this 10 of Clubs, yeah, when he was in college, I feel like maybe he could have written for his college paper, was how he was able to get some of this stuff out, or maybe the paper or some type of journal or something like that he wrote for. He could have ghostwritten for it, which is kind of how he probably got his name out there. Maybe he had some type of alias, especially with this 2 of Spades energy coming out in the first row, and even this Ace of Spades, like he could have had like another alias or something like that, to get his work out there. But when he was in college, was most certainly through college, was how he, you know, is how he was able to navigate the literary and political communities during that time, because people couldn't help but talk about it with the 5 of Clubs. Like people like could not help but talk about it, and he was grinding. The 5 of Clubs, like he was grinding like really hard. You know, it did not come to him easily. He had 5 of Spades, 7 of Spades, 3 of Hearts. He had a lot of people, you know, even threatening him. I mean, which is not difficult, you know, to see or to believe. Like I feel like he had like a lot of people threatening him, you know, telling him, like threatening like his life, you know what I'm saying, and things like that, you know, just very extreme. But eventually, you know, he stayed true to himself, and, you know, and he thugged it out, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to you, James Baldwin. Thanks, man. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to him, because he thugged it out for sure. He thugged it out, just straight up. It wasn't easy, but it was not easy for him at all whatsoever. But I do want to know, like, Egungun, did living in New York make it easier for him to be free with his sexuality as opposed to other cities in America? Because even though it wasn't easy for him, by no means, but did living in NY, in New York, Egungun, make it easier for him to be free with his sexuality as opposed to other cities in America? Seven of Diamonds, 9 of Clubs, the 7 of Hearts. Was it easier in New York? A little bit. People still, of course, people still, question, you know what I'm saying? Like, people like weren't, as free or whatever, or how do I want to say this? It was a little bit easier. Yeah, it was easier. It was easier compared to, to other cities. However, it's important, even with the Seven of Spades being here, that we don't get confused thinking that, it was just this grand thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just this much of a step up. Because even with the Seven of Hearts, there was still like a lot of disappointment, like he felt disappointed still, like in how he was treated. But compared to NY, but NY compared to other cities in America, though, they were more free. They were more, expansive, like that Jupiter energy. Like they were just more accepting, of different, backgrounds, and things like that. But even with the Seven of Spades, though, once again, it's saying, but don't get it twisted. Don't get it confused. It's still, was in juices and berries. You know what I'm saying? It was still very hard. It was still very hard, but it was easier for him to navigate the New York scene, even with the Harlem Renaissance, being still a thing, during that time. He was able to make a lot of different connections, close like a lot of different business deals and things like that. Get his work out there more. Get, his work like circulating, like maybe in different like journals and newspapers and other like pamphlets and things like that. Business wise, making money wise, it was easier for him to navigate New York as a Black gay male. It was easier for him to make money there and easier for him to build business relationships there. But still, as far as love, though, he had to keep that part hidden. He still had to keep it secret, All right, cool beans. So now, let's see. I want to know where or what was the inspiration. Where was Egungun? Where was the inspiration, or what was the inspiration from his gay and especially bisexual characters from? Like, where did that inspiration come from? And was bisexuality largely considered or talked about at that time for him to do so? Egungun, where did the inspiration for his gay and especially his bisexual characters come from? And was bisexuality largely considered or talked about at that time? Egungun. Let me shuffle one more time. All right. Four of Diamonds, Jack of Diamonds, and then the Three of Diamonds. So the inspiration obviously came from his childhood. Like I said earlier, he started navigating the LGBTQ scene at a very young age. I feel like he could have been I feel like this could have been when he was a teenager. When he was like a preteen. Was when he started, gaining a lot of these experiences. And I honestly feel like with the Four of Diamonds, this is talking about him himself, not even though he identified as gay. I think he identified as gay. I'm not sure if he identified as gay or bisexual, but according to this spread right here that I just pulled, he actually did consider himself to be bisexual, or at least, or at least, or at the very minimum, he experimented, with both women and men during that time. And so when he saw the complexity, I guess, of sexuality, he saw it on the spectrum with the Four of Diamonds and even this Three of Diamonds here. That is where the experience came from. It really came from that is where the inspiration came from. It really came from his own experiences, as a child, liking women, because I feel like he even had a relationship with the Three of Diamonds. He could have have been in a relationship with a woman and a man at one point. Okay, then James out here living his best life. Okay, Mr. Baldwin. But even, yeah, with this 3 of diamonds, I see him having a relationship with the man and a woman at one point. And so his own personal experiences, his own personal foundation is actually where the inspiration came from. Yeah, 5 of diamonds. I see James had he had a lot of sexual partners. He really did. From both sexes. Honestly, that's where it came from. That's where he got the inspiration from. I feel like with the, yeah, that's where it came from. With this Queen of Spades, with this Queen of Spades, he did have, he had a relationship with the woman. He may have had actually a few relationships with women. So yeah, he himself was in fact bisexual, or at least early on. Maybe he changed, or maybe he identified later as gay. I'm not sure, but yeah, it came from a lot of different his sexual experiences with other people. So let me just reiterate that it came from his own personal experiences, his own sexual experiences that he had with other, with women and men. But he also took with the 9 of Hearts that information from them. Like, I'm feeling like maybe orgy type vibe, So it's like, he took from his own personal experience, as well as like the other people that he was involved, maybe like with an orgy with, or in like a relationship with. Yeah, that's where it came from, honestly, the 9 of Hearts, because, and he also, let me just go ahead and say, he felt, once again, obviously, that it was important to get those messages out, get those experiences out and like to normalize them in a way. The 7 of Clubs, the 8 of Hearts, because once again, and even going along with my second question, saying, if bisexuality, was largely considered or talked about at that time for him to do so. The 7 of Clubs, it was talked about, but not that much though. Like, it was talked about, but I feel like people still wanted them during that time, bisexual people, to choose either or, like either you are heterosexual or you are homosexual. Like, how you gonna be both with the 7 of Clubs coming out right here? But he wanted people to know that, yes, in fact, you can be both. You can be both. It is a thing, like, he didn't want to restrict himself, like with the 8 of Hearts and that Saturn energy. He didn't want to restrict himself. You know what I'm saying? He said, get it all for him. You know what I'm saying? Get it all for him. A large, that's what he was saying, he wanted it all for him, but eventually though, with this King of Hearts, he did settle with a man though. So that's why I do think that he, that's probably largely the reason why he identified as gay. But
fuel my fire, take me higher, I'll be your liar too. Cause when we're here, there's nothing better than the skyline